Well, she's not looking very spectacular, but she's got good bones to her, and there's not a lot of dents or scratches, so this should do for a good makeover. Well, we started sanding on this, and I did have a good look over the piece, and I did realise that it's wood veneer. So as you know, with wood veneer we can't really sand with a high grit, so I've started on this on 180 grit. I'm basically going to take my time on it to make sure that I don't go through the veneer, and it seems to be working okay. It's actually got a nice grain underneath all of that. So as you see me here, just taking my time, slowly does it, nice and easy. The good thing about this one is it wasn't a 1mm veneer. I think it's got about 2.5 to 3mm veneer on it, so I was pretty lucky, because had it been the thin ones I wouldn't have been able to get some of the slight scratches or dents out, but I just kept going, kept persevering. There's a bit of a border around this piece as well on the outside. You can see the curved edge. I was in no way going to sand all of that back either, because that is that thick particular board where it's put together and it just wouldn't take the stain or anything. So I'm going to stick with just the top sanded back row on this one. I'd normally wash the piece down, and there's all sorts I've tried. I would normally do it with the Pureco Lemon and Myrtle, but because this is a veneer piece, it's particle board on the sides as well, sort of with a veneer on top, and I just don't want to get any water on the piece because it'll tend to swell up, and you know, you'll get those bumps and not even. So I've decided to use mineral turps to clean this, purely and simply because it's veneer particle board and I just don't want any swelling. So off I went with the turpentine and cleaned it all up and just left it to dry, and then I was ready for to paint. The main part of this makeover is going to be white, and if you ever want to do a white with the minimum amount of coats on, I suggest you get a really good base and blocker primer, which is the Pureco base and blocker in white. I am only going to do 2 coats on this because that's all I'm going to need, because the next coat I'm going on top with will just be 2 coats as well, so that's 4 altogether. I start by cutting in everywhere with a brush, and then I always go back over when I roll. And I'm lifting the bottom up as well to try and get underneath there, and you'll see me going round the bottom as well with the paint. I'm trying to seal in there because when I felt with my finger around those edges, that is the chipboard, and I don't want to get any splashes of water or anything, or the next customer, even if they were mopping the floor, I don't want any water getting under there. So I'm trying to seal all of that as well with the paint, the base and blocker, and I'll also do exactly the same again. When I get onto the top coat, I'll go underneath the bottom and try and seal all of that back in, just to make sure that the customer has a really good piece when they pick it up. Yep, I forgot to tape off the inside here, but that's okay. I've always had the tape ready, so I'm just going in there and taping off the bottom, taping off a bit more the top, is what it is. If you forget, just get the tape out. Using a paintbrush again to cut into all those fine details, and then I will roll over that as well. I always roll over after I've painted, just so I don't get any brush marks. So here is 2 coats of the Pureco base and blocker. It's starting to take shape. It's actually done some really good coverage on this. So now that that's dry, I'm going to go in with the sanding sponge 320 grit, just to take off any little notches or anything I can feel where it's unsmooth. And I'm going straight in with the porcelain and silk, 2 coats. And you can see on the coverage, just 1 coat, it's starting to really take shape. Look at that, highly pigmented. So 2 coats of that. I'm going to put a bit of stencil on the drawers now. I like a bit of stencil. And this is one from Belle Stencils. It's like an old Victorian tile type thing. I decided to do some stripes on the top drawer just to give a bit more detail. So I'm going to just do that by hand, just using a brush. Put the drawers back in. I've still got a bit touching up to do because as you can see on the stripes there, it's still a bit patchy. So I'm going to go back in and do them again. Now I'm on to the Driftwood staining glaze. 2 coats of that, so we can still see the wood grain beneath. I don't have to go over the top with the satin sealer, but I don't know which customer is going to take this piece. I just want a bit more of a sheen on the top to match the paint, so I decided to go in and give a couple of coats, give a bit more of a durable finish on there. And again, in between the coats, I've sanded with 600 grit, wiped off and gone again. I have cleaned the hardware and sprayed them with the White Knight's black satin, and they've just come up really good. Just put them straight back on, and there we go.